YouTube. So we're going to start this video about Harry Hayward and the murder of Catherine Jing. And basically I'll just give you a quick breakdown of what we're going to do. First I'm going to give you like a brief Cliff Notes version of what happened and tell you about links that I'm going to provide in the description box if you want to read more details about the case. And we play an audio recording of the man behind the murder, a confession from 1895 that was recorded on a wax cylinder phonograph the night before the Hayward's execution. And then after that, we're going to go on a tour of Minneapolis to the various sites that are associated with Hayward and Jing. And then we're going to wrap it up and then a little recap. So, let's get started. I'll see you in a few. Catherine was a dressmaker well known in Minneapolis. She was originally from Auburn, New York, and she had come to Minneapolis with her mentor, Mrs. Uncless, U-N-K-L-E-S-S. 2 years after moving to Minneapolis, Mrs. Uncless died, and Catherine had taken over the dressmaking business, and she moved into the Syndicate block, which is probably the most well-known building in Minneapolis at the time. And she had quite a successful dressmaking business. She catered to the very rich and upper middle class ladies of the city and was very successful at what she did. And in January of 1894, she moved into the Ozark Flats building at 1227 Hennepin Avenue. And that's where she met Harry Hayward. And they soon after she moved in, they began casually dating. Harry never worked an honest day's work in his life, was a gambler and criminal. He counterfeited money, he cheated at gambling. There's all kinds of different crimes that, petty crimes that he committed. He came from a wealthy family in Minneapolis. His father, William Hayward, was a local real estate developer and was quite successful at what he did. And he was one that actually owned the Ozark Flats building, and basically the whole Hayward family lived in it. Harry Hayward, his brother Adri, William and Ludersky Hayward, his parents, and also Catherine Jing, who also had her niece living with her, Mary Louise Ireland. And then Klaus Blixt, her murderer, lived in the basement apartment of the building because he was the janitor for the building. So you had all the major players in this whole case all lived in the same place. Like I said before, her murder occurred on December 3rd, 1894. And about a week later, Harry, his brother Adri, and Klaus Blixt were all arrested and being interrogated by police. And Adri, his brother, was the first one to confess, because before Klaus Blixt, Harry had been bugging his brother to kill Catherine. He said he'd give him $2,000 if he killed Catherine Jing, to which he wasn't sure if he was kidding or not, but ultimately he refused. And he went to the family's attorney asking him, do I need to call the police? Is this guy, is he for real? And the family attorney said, there's nothing to worry about. He's just joking around. He's pulling your leg. Well, after Adri, his brother, turned him down flat, then Harry went to work on Klaus Blixt. He would constantly go into the basement apartment there and berate him, browbeat him, and ultimately he had to threaten Klaus with, if he didn't commit the murder and take the $2,000, that he was going to murder his wife. Now, from all accounts from the newspapers of the time and the court case, the Stenographic report, Klaus Blixt was not that smart of an individual, but he was a devoted husband and father. So he didn't want anything happening to his wife, so he reluctantly agreed to murder Catherine. So on the night of December the 3rd, Harry had a date for the opera so he could have himself an alibi, and he had Catherine rent a horse and buggy, and Klaus Blixt rode with her over to Lake Calhoun. And when they reached the northwest corner of Lake Calhoun, which is a very, very sparsely populated area at the time, there's only like a couple houses, Klaus Blixt took out a revolver and put it behind Catherine's ear, pulled the trigger, and killed her. And they rode along for a little bit, and then Blixt threw her body out of the carriage and kept going. And that is where the location is at 31st and Excelsior, and that's where we're going to be going first after this is done filming this part here. So after he dumped the body off, a man named William Earhart, who was had just gotten off work, just gotten off the streetcar, was on his last leg, walking 2 blocks to his house. Alright guys, so we're here at the corner of 31st and Excelsior, where Catherine Jing's body was found by William Earhart. He was on his way home from work. She was murdered closer to Lake Calhoun, which is not that far from here, and Klaus Blixt, her murderer, drove her to this spot, threw her body out, and continued on his way. Now what I'm about to read to you is from the official stenographic report from the trial, where William Earhart was questioned by the prosecutor. It says, well, instead of question and answer, I'll just say Q&A. Q. What station do you call that where you got off? A. Excelsior Avenue. Q. How far is it from there to your house where you reside? A. Well, it is supposed to be 2 blocks, but they are very long blocks. Q. After you left the car, between the car and your home, did you see or find anything unusual on the road? A. Yes, sir. Q. State to the court and jury what you saw. A. Why, when I first got off the car, I heard a buggy coming through the marsh, but I could not see anything. And I heard a horse running very fast. And I walked down to the foot of the hill, and a team passed me. A top buggy with the top up. I paid no attention to it. The horse was running. I stepped to one side, and I thought they were driving pretty fast. That is all the attention I paid to it. And I walked along for about half a block in the direction of my house, and I very nearly stepped on the corpse of a woman. Q. Where was this body lying? A. Right in the center of the road. Q. What did you do? I went up to the house about half a block, and I notified my brother-in-law, Mr. Nagler, and my brother Frank, and we returned with a lantern down to where the body was found. Q. You came back there? A. Yes, sir. And that was it. Right here in the middle of the road was where her body was found, at this intersection. On December the 3rd, 1894. It looks a lot different now than it did back then. I'll post a picture up. Back on December the 3rd of 1894, all that was around here was woods, the occasional house, and Lake Calhoun, which is about a block or 2 from here. So here it is. Everyone driving past this intersection by the thousands every single day. But back in 1894, the 3rd of December, it was a murder scene. So there you have it. Off to the next stop. Alright guys, here we are at the Ozark Flats building. Hasn't changed much since 1890 when it was built, except for the first floor. See right there in front is a coffee shop, and to the left is Eli's bar. But other than that, it's unchanged since it was first built. It was here where everybody involved in this Jing murder case pretty much lived. Harry's apartment was on the first floor where Eli's bar is at. Adria's brother lived on the third floor. Fourth floor is where Harry's parents lived, and up on the top floor in the back was where Catherine Jing and her niece lived. I mean, even the Edward Goodsell, who owned the livery stable where Catherine hired that horse and buggy that she was murdered in, Edward Goodsell and his son also lived in this building. If you were here on December of 1894, you'd have seen a much different place. Lots of activity. When it was found out that this is where the victim lived, as you can see, the original sign is still on the building. At the time it was called the Bellevue. You can see right there. Right here, 1227 Hennepin Avenue. Okay, here's where the elevator, the original elevator stood. You can see the stairs too, original. Pretty interesting stuff. It's obviously private residence. It's a building of condominiums now. Harry's apartment was boarded up. Let's go look around the building, see if I can find anything. Yeah. There's another entrance here where people who lived on this side of the building would use, which is the side Catherine and her niece would use to come in and out. Obviously a little different now. Now it's an entrance for the coffee shop. And here would be the back of the building. Where Klaus Blixt would come in and out of. He had the basement apartment since he was the super for the building. But yeah, that's about it from here, from the Ozark Flats. Oh, also Harry's parents were very wealthy, and William's father was the one who made his fortune in real estate. He actually built and owned this building. That's why everybody, the family, lived here. So, talk to you again. Bye. Okay. Alright guys, we are at Fairview Cemetery in Stillwater. And you might be asking yourself, why am I just filming a patch of ground? Well, the reason is that we're at the prisoner lot of the cemetery. This is where Klaus Blixt is buried. Anyone who died in Stillwater prison and didn't have any loved ones claim their bodies were brought here and buried at government expense in Fairview, not too far away from where the original prison once stood. And the nice ladies in the cemetery office gave me the location of the grave, and they told me that well over 99% of the prisoners had no markers, so all you're going to see is just like a patch of just what looks like somebody's front lawn, and that's pretty much, from what you can tell, all you're seeing. So, but this where we're at right here is a slight depression. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera. But this is where Klaus Blixt would be buried. He died in Stillwater Prison after being convicted of the murder of Catherine Jing in 1925. He was 72 years old. He did have children, grandchildren, brothers and sisters, but I guess after his conviction, they just wrote him off and just had nothing to do with him after that, because after he died, no one bothered to claim his body, so here he is buried. Okay. So there you have it, the final resting place of the murderer of Catherine Jing, Klaus Blixt. See you at the next stop. Okay guys, we're here at Minneapolis Pioneers and Soldiers Cemetery, as you can see here. It's the oldest cemetery in Minneapolis. First interment occurred in 1853. Used to be called Lehman Cemetery because at the time this was part of a farm, the Lehman family. And once the city took over in 1919, it was changed to Minneapolis Pioneers and Soldiers Cemetery. And we're coming on to the Hayward family plot, where Harry Hayward, otherwise known as the Minneapolis Svengali, is interred. And you can see right here, just by the headstone alone, it definitely came from a rich family. Let's see if I can get closer so you can see. Yeah, William Hayward and Ledusky, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, were Harry's parents. And you see the four names: Lucinda, Williamette, Ansel, and Harry. The first three were children that died early in life, and then of course Harry right there. After Harry's execution on December 11th, 1895, there were some credible threats that some people wanted to steal Harry's body to use it either for scientific research or to exploit it for money. So his parents had armed guards placed until they could make arrangements to what to do with Harry's body. So eventually it was, since there weren't any crematoriums in Minnesota at the time, at least not any near Minneapolis, he was sent to Graceland Cemetery in Chicago and was cremated there and escorted back, and then his remains interred right here with the family plot. Closer look. So, there it is, the final resting place of Harry Hayward. Another interesting thing to note about this cemetery isn't just Harry Hayward, but also a man named John Smith. I'm not sure where his grave is at, because a lot of the graves here are unmarked. John Smith was a juror on the jury that convicted Harry. A Civil War veteran that's buried in this cemetery. I'm not sure if he's got a headstone or not. And then also another connection in this cemetery is Klaus Blixt's second wife, who died in 1890, is also buried in this cemetery. Obviously she wasn't around at the time when the murder of Catherine Jing occurred or anything like that, but another interesting thing to note. Okay, so that's it from Minneapolis Pioneers and Soldiers Cemetery.
I, Harry Hayward, desire to make known to the world through the phonograph a statement concerning my connection with the death of Catherine Jing, for whose murder I am to be executed tomorrow. The government says that I am guilty of the crime, though I was not even present at the killing and had no part in the actual commission of the act. Yet I am to be sent into eternity for a crime which flicks a chicken-hearted idiot confesses to have perpetrated. When I shall die gay, and show the world that I am made of the right stuff. If I had Audrey here now, I would cut his heart out and feed it to the dog. I would tear him limb from limb and hack him to pieces. I would make his liver and dice into a pie and thrust it down his dying throat. I am a firm believer in spiritualism, and I will return, mark me, and haunt my cursed brother till his dying day, and I will meet him on the brink of eternity with a red-hot iron. If that devilish Quinlan had not deserted me, I should seek the gallows. Well, we all have to die, and I care not whether I go to heaven or hell. I've got friends in both places. I am as well off in either place as I am in this accursed world. Those detectives thought to scare me into a confession when they showed me Catherine standing up in her coffin. Ha ha! They little knew my caliber. Well, I swing tomorrow. It's a long time, gentlemen, to wait for a railroad train. If anyone wishes to see me tomorrow, they will please call at the morgue. I shall have changed my address. Alas, my poor mother. Would that I might see her once again. As for the rest, to hell with them. Yours, most respectfully, Harry Hayward.
Okay, everybody, so there you have it. The case of Harry Hayward and the murder of Catherine Jing. Very interesting story, to say the least. And like I said before, in the description box I'll have all kinds of links to more information if you want to delve a bit deeper into the case and be able to read some more stuff for yourself, which I would recommend doing. It's a pretty fascinating period of time in history. So this video is done. Now off to the next investigation. See you next time.